Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Or-
hello. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Yes, I can. Thank you so much.
Cool.
I have Glenn. I promoted Glenn already. He must have stepped away, so
Okay.
I'll promote him again just in case. And then Fred will be here as well. He is um, ran home, so he'll be getting on here shortly.
Okay.
You hear me? Testing one.
Yes.
Yep.
Hi, Glenn.
Hey,
Hi, Nate. Nice to
hi.
see you in a different role. I was like, last
I
meeting we didn't like celebrate you, so
know.
I'm celebrating you now in your new
So
role.
nice to see you. I we've been thinking about you, and I haven't seen you around the neighborhood as much as I'd like.
I
So I'm
know.
figuring you're very busy and with the start of the year.
Yeah, no, for sure. We'll reconnect soon for sure. Gradually making it out. I'm not about again in this world.
Yeah, I've seen Mike out and about a little bit,
Yeah. No,
getting
that's
some fresh air.
yes. Hi, Rebecca.
Oh, hey, I thought my audio.
What's
No.
Up,
that?
I
Rebecca.
said, hey, I didn't know my audio was off at first.
Oh, it's okay.
How you doing, Glenn?
Doing great.
Happy New Year.
Thanks. Yeah.
Any big resolutions?
No.
Right answer. Good answer.
All right, so I've got me, Glenn, Crystal, Rebecca, 5, 6, 7. I'm like trying to like count my quorum. I think we're good. You already confirmed that, right?
Yes, yeah. We had enough that that did take the poll that we have that kind of counts how many. And I have Amy. I just promoted Amy as well.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And
All righty then. Well, I will do my best to follow the rules of of our training. So let me get adjusted here. All right. All right. I am calling the meeting to order at 5:31. Today's January 21, 2026. Manitou Springs Housing Advisory Board meeting. So um, I believe I do roll call.
yes.
All right. So I will just go down my little list here. Um, Aaliyah German. She's excused, I believe. Do I just say that she's excused and move forward, I guess? Okay.
Yeah, we just want to pretty much get a running list of who's at the board and who's not at the board or not at the meeting, sorry.
Okay. Member Anna Rebecca Allen.
Here.
Member Glenn Bosley Mitchell.
Here.
Member Crystal Carr.
Here.
Member Amy Mott.
Here.
And member Michael Quintana.
Here.
Awesome. Oh, nice. Well, welcome everyone. Um, all righty. Moving along. approval of minutes,
Yep.
and I cannot remember that language that the woman told me about.
Oh, if we would do it on like a consent calendar. Yep.
Yep. So is it, can I get a motion to approve all of them?
I
Yep. Yeah.
make
Consent calendar. Yeah.
I make a motion to approve all of the agenda notes on the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Um, all in all in favor? Yes.
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 Any
Yes.
no's? All right, beautiful. Approval of the minutes, February, August, September, approved by the board. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Item C, public comment on non-agenda items. I do not believe that there are any public here, are there?
Nope. I have no one other than the board, and Fred's joining us as well. So, yes, no
Cool.
public comment.
All right, so um, we'll talk about it in new business, but as you can see, there's a little change in the agenda. So we're going to start um, with D, item D here with reports. And our first report comes from our city council liaison, which we didn't celebrate last time about his exit from alternate to his promotion to our liaison. So
Well, this is my favorite commission of them all. I have obviously it's such a pleasure and thanks for your support. Um, and so I'm glad that I won the assignment to be the liaison so we can continue to work together because it's such an amazing group.
Yeah.
So in Thank you, Glenn. So I'll just give you sort of an executive summary. There hasn't been anything specific that I would describe to sort of some of our key objectives in the first two sessions of the year. But I'll kind of give you some of the things that are being discussed, and then if it raises any questions, and I'm happy to do my best to clarify or expand. Um, so I wanted to start with one public meeting that I attended that was interesting. There's some information on the website. It's actually Crystal's former home. There was an action plan hearing around the housing needs assessment on January 7th. Um, Insightful, I think time well spent. There's a lot of challenges is sort of the takeaway, but that won't come as any surprises. And I can put in the chat the link to the location where they posted the the final findings on the regional housing needs assessment that I know Crystal was very close to. So maybe Crystal, if you want to expand a little bit on that. They have an informational overview of the regional housing needs assessment, which is a little bit easier to consume and get through. The full report is pretty information dense. So the big items from both the work session and then our first formal meeting last night, which was considerable. We got out of there at 11 o'clock. So I hope we're not here till 11 on this meeting tonight, Allison. So some good reappointments to the City Planning Commission, um, appointments to the URA, and I was obviously thrilled to see Nancy joining the URA board because I know that's something that she's had interest in, and it's so great to see her remain really engaged. And she's also being very involved with St. Andrews as a community center. It feels like those are going to be her two new focuses after 8 years of public service. Um, One of the big items that I think touches us all as residents is a potential public engagement process around the budget so people feel vested, educated, and clear on our budget, the operational challenges, and the idea would be the way it's envisioned. If there be community workshops, people will have real clarity into the services that the city provides, and then give sort of a directional sense of what their trade-offs would be under different scenarios. So I'm really encouraged with the prospect. Nothing officially has been put in motion, but it was discussed last night. So I wanted to give you a heads up on that. Um, Minor issue around encroachments, which is more of a technical city planning ordinance that was discussed at first reading last night. Small thing around cost recovery, which was a nice budgetary find out of the fire department to get some cost savings from an insurance policy they have. And then I registered for the Pikes Peak Housing Network's annual symposium. Some of you, I'm sure Crystal and Allison know Jill Gabler. She runs that nonprofit. And I went to their annual symposium last year, and I found it to be very worthwhile. They have panels. This, I think, is a little bit more informal. It's at the Phantom Brewery, which I've never been to. It's February 16th. There is a registration fee of $50. So I'll definitely be there representing. And I think Counselor Carrie Storm is going to attend as well. But if it interests anyone in the group, it'd be great to see you. And I think that concludes. Any questions, thoughts? I don't know, Crystal, if you want to expand any on the housing needs assessment or otherwise, that's Allison. That's my first report.
Nice.
Thank you, Nate. Unfortunately, I don't have any insights that I can offer from the housing needs
Yeah,
assessment.
gotcha.
I was more a part of the homelessness assessment piece of that,
Gotcha.
which I highly recommend everybody go and read. But
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
All right. I was just looking here at following up on those. That's great. Thank you for sharing. And I know you had sent an email with that, like Pikes Peak Network or Housing
Yeah,
Network
yeah.
opportunity. And I feel like maybe Rebecca had asked about if we had budget for that, and I don't know where to land that, where I would land that conversation. Is that something now, or would I move that down to another part of the agenda?
Yeah, and we can discuss it as maybe like a new business item.
Okay. I'll just put that down there at the end when we have if we have a chance to answer that, okay? All right. Thanks, Nate. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, we have our staff liaison report.
Yeah, I think Fred, can you hear us okay? I know that you had mentioned you wanted to hear some updates on ADUs. I know we didn't meet last month. And Fred, take it away.
Oh, thanks very much. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
So and I see this is also an agenda item talking about ADUs, so we can talk about it now or we can talk about it later. But let's see. Hold on. Let me pull some information up. Let's see, ADU updates. So if you recall, I don't know. I think most people know that the ADU ordinance was reviewed by City Council and then remanded back to the Planning Commission to consider some further revisions in November. And then Planning Commission went ahead and sent another recommendation to City Council for City Council to decide in December. And they made that decision on December 2nd, with some revisions. The the city council asked planning commission to look at setbacks, at whether ADUs should or should not be located in front yards, and looking at front setbacks for detached ADUs, and um, um, parking, whether ADUs, let's see, whether ADUs should whether ADUs could be allowed, like in covered parking spaces, or parking garages and things like that. So what was ultimately decided on was the 80 Planning Commission had recommended City Council, and City Council did go ahead with the recommendation to not allow detached ADUs to be located in front yards, to keep them in the back, but that there wouldn't be um, any special setbacks for attached ADUs. So if you want to if you want to build an addition to your house for an ADU, you can put it in the front, you can put it in the side, you can put it in the rear, as long as it meets current setbacks for the zoning district. But if it's a detached ADU, that's going to have to be in the backyard. But it was adopted on the 2nd of December, and we've had a few people who are interested in building ADUs so far, but we haven't had any applications yet.
Can I
Um,
just ask a question? Did council receive the letter that HAB had written indicating our support, and they just felt like that didn't?
yeah, that's correct. Yes, uh, the HAB letter was submitted. It was part of the record. It was in City Council's packet.
And do you recall, like, it was just unanimous that they said that it couldn't be in front yard because the HAB had, um, I know, indicated in our letter that we felt like that um, should it be the rule? I'm just
Yeah,
curious where the conversation was. It because planning also supported it, and so then council supported it. I'm just curious where like the HAB voice, um, I don't know, either it didn't get as elevated as we had wanted, or was it just that other people's voices were louder? I don't know how to.
so the Planning Commission's recommendation was for the Planning Commission had recommended that setbacks be that they keep detached ADUs in the back. Um, I do not remember the details of the hearing, and anybody can certainly go and take a look at the recording. But it seemed like that a certain number of counselors um, were uh, were more in favor of the Planning Commission's recommendation. I think there was a visual impact issue. There was a concern over what that impact would look like from the front yards, or from the front of a street, um, and things like that. Um, and so they went with Planning Commission's recommendation on that. So,
I
uh,
can give a quick, if
yeah,
it's
Nate
okay.
was there. Feel free to, if I apologize if I missed something, but yeah, I'm
No, Fred, you didn't miss anything. I was just going to expand a little bit. It's definitely worth watching the recording. I would characterize it as, um, Allison, there were just two philosophical cohorts represented. Some had conviction that this was very limiting, and they were much aligned um, to the HAB's letter. That ended up being in the minority, and I think one of the bigger data points um, that emerged with the more restrictive philosophy sort of winning is this idea that you cannot have. I don't think the ordinance, and Fred, you can keep me honest, it doesn't allow for a detached ADU on the side of your property, which is
Correct.
which is typically where a lot of homeowners would put an ADU. So I share that with you to say my read on that, where council landed, was very restrictive. And so they're saying it's okay if you want to extend your garage or, provided that it meets, but it's still attached to your house. But I want to make sure that, Fred, my understanding of that is correct. Because, man, the way most neighborhoods are, in my experience, and is that it would be hard to build a detached ADU in the back of a property. Many of the neighborhoods I know, a lot of people don't have a lot of land in the back. I know certainly in our little house and Allison in our neighborhood, but we do have some square footage to the side of our house. Fred, did I get that data point correct?
Um, to an extent, there are some neighborhoods and there are some residences that have more room in the front than the back. In other places, it's different. What planning staff had presented a scenario to both the planning commission and city council in a case where in some cases, houses are set back where you have at where they're set back from the front in the front yard, and so you've got a big front yard, but there may not be a large enough space in the backyard to put in another building, whether it's an ADU or a garage or a shed or whatever. And we had wanted to identify that in cases like that, um, construction of ADU would be quite restrictive if they wanted to impose the setback that was being considered. There are other neighborhoods and there are other lots and homes that have plenty of space in the backyard for an ADU. It just depends. I don't know what the ratio is in the city of Manitou. I don't know how many.
It was mainly, Fred, on my interpretation of the detached ADU on the side of a property. Was my understanding correct there?
Well,
That
yeah,
it restricts that.
yeah, it does. It does restrict it. So the setback for an ADU in the code right now is the basically the back of your house. So the back side of your house is the minimum front setback for an ADU, which by default keeps a detached ADU behind um, the residence, in the back of the residence.
Yes. So Allison, to your question, I would say that diverged very much from the spirit and the intent of the Housing Advisory Board letter. And that's not to say that that wasn't challenged, and you'll see it by various counselors, but that's where it landed on the vote.
Got it. Thank you. Glenn, question?
Um, yeah, I would want to go on record of the housing board here that what the city council approved violates the state legislation, because they're more restrictive, and the state legislation does not allow the housing to be more restrictive. And so I think the city, and I understand the city attorney approved it all, but I would venture to guess that it violates the state legislation for the housing board. Um, we'd have to, somebody would have to probably, sue the city or challenge that. But if you look at the legislation, it's the state legislature is very intentional that the cities cannot be more restrictive about zoning than what they do for anything else. And I think that the city commission was more restrictive for the attached dwelling units than would be allowed for the normal zoning issues. I'd love to get that particular question asked of the city attorney, because I think that is a violation of the state legislation.
Yeah, I did verify that with the attorney. It um, According to the attorney, it does comply with state law because it is a front setback. State law allows communities to impose a front setback that is more restrictive than what the zoning allows. It does not allow communities to impose a larger side setback or rear setback, if I recall right. But in this case, the restriction is the front setback, and so it restricts the
So
entire.
how can they restrict the side then?
They didn't. They didn't. It's a front setback restriction. The
So you
front
could
set
build attached dwelling on the side.
say that
You
again.
could build an attached dwelling unit on the side of your property.
Yeah. So this restriction is for detached ADUs. There is no special restrictions on attached ADUs.
Now, could you do a detached on the side of your house?
No, because it would not meet the front setback of the rear of the house.
So my argument is that that violates the state law.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
understood.
that might be better answered during the HAB CPC meeting.
Okay, got it.
I don't think we wouldn't have a resolution, at least during this meeting.
That makes sense. But no, well appreciated. So thank you. Amy,
Thank you. What's CPC stand for? Could you say?
that's
So?
City
the
Planning Commission.
City Planning
Oh,
Commission. Sorry.
okay. Yeah, that's related to my question. I I would encourage, thank you, Nate, for being there. I did watch the recording of the city council that we're discussing. I would encourage you to watch it, Glenn. It's quite informative. I mean, I was disappointed with the ruling, but I think the consensus from the setback side is that if you don't aren't specific about that, you're opening yourself up to litigation. Was that viewpoint? Just so you know, that was my understanding. My question is very much the same as Allison's though, but toward the planning commission. I'm curious because I couldn't find that anywhere in the recordings, and I'm sorry I did look, but it's a little harder to suss out. Like, what was their feedback to the HAB letter, and where did they kind of sit on the planning commission as far as like, yeah, I just couldn't see that conversation, and so it was like a missing middle piece. And I don't know if you were there, maybe Nate. So just curious.
Yeah, Nate was there. I think you were there at all the meetings, weren't you? And I'm trying to remember. The Planning Commission meeting was back in November, and I know that was kind of the Planning Commission was split, if I recall, on feelings of whether to impose a setback or not, such a strict setback. Um, and they were talking a lot about. I think at the time, what was presented to the Planning Commission from City Council was whether all types of ADUs, whether attached or detached, should be put behind the house. And I think Planning Commission thought it as sort of a middle ground to allow attached ADUs anywhere on the lot as long as they were attached and met zoning setbacks. But then put the detach keep the detached ADUs in the back. I think they saw that as a compromise from what was presented to them.
The letter was in the packet, or it was read, or was presented, or just in the packet as well.
Well, so the letter from the HAB was prepared for the city council meeting, not for you provided a letter for the planning commission meeting, but that was the first meeting back in, I think it was in October or September. So the remand, I don't believe HAB provided a letter for when the ordinance was remanded to the planning commission in November.
Yeah, because I think it was Um, I think we saw I feel like I was there. I was there. I should look. I was there in the notes, in the minutes. That yes, we had heard what planning was already deciding, and that's what prompted us to put then the letter in, and we just had that quick turnaround. So that went to city council. So all right, well, I will watch that, and other people can encourage, and we can follow up, Glenn, if something else comes down the pike on that. Fred, were there other planning staff liaison things you had to share, other reports?
No, I don't believe so. I don't have anything at this time.
Okay, thank you. No old business noted here. So new business, we were invited to the City Planning Commission and HAB for a joint meeting on February 11th. Fred, do you want to remind us what the agenda item or objective of that meeting is?
Yeah. So the Planning Commission is considering whether to make amendments to the code for a few different things. Number one is make some changes to its variance process, but also to look at uh, um, residential density restrictions in some of the zoning districts, primarily the commercial zoning district, which is which is the zoning district that most of the properties in the Urban Renewal Authority area are zoned. And I think they were looking at possibly reviewing height restrictions as well. And this comes on the heels of um, I guess the variance denial that it made for the apartment complex proposal on the LaFun site. And so so the Planning Commission is looking at that. They're looking at that decision and how it was made, and um, wanted to review the code to see if the code um, could or should be revised to better allow for these types of projects. And so with that review, Planning Commission has invited the HAB and the URA to this work session in February to talk about these things, talk about densities, and I believe talk about height. I don't know if I'm I don't recall. I'm going to be putting together a memo and some information, and I will make sure that you all get that information before the meeting. But they want to have a discussion about those things and hear from uh, uh, hear what everybody thinks about what the current code allows, and you know, should it be reviewed, should it be amended, um, and where that discussion is going to go. So at this time right now, we're planning on having an in-person meeting in Memorial Hall. Memorial Hall should be ready for a meeting by then. It's currently under construction right now, and that's why we're uh, we're doing this meeting tonight remotely. Um, but it should be the Memorial Hall should be ready for the second Wednesday in February for everybody to meet there, and we'll go through and have a nice discussion.
So I guess in preparation for that, right? Is that what we're sort of talking about, like our discussion? Because do most HAB believe, is it on the original email you had sent me, Fred, is it's a 5:30 p.m. meeting? Maybe you already said
Yes.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a Wednesday. It's a second Wednesday, a week before our HAB. Do most um, members believe that they would be able to attend that? Yes, Glenn, did you have a question?
Can, I've been in town. Can I join by Zoom?
Yeah, we'll have it live streamed as well, and we can promote you to a panelist so that you can speak if you want it as well.
Okay.
All right. So Glenn, remote, you'll attend. Crystal will. Rebecca, Amy. Yes, I can't see. Yes. Okay. Cool. And I'll be there, and I believe I'll confirm with Aaliyah. Um, so basically, so it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, Fred, and what I'm reading from what you had sent me, is that um, the particular point is the commercial district, which is the URA, looking at that like LaFun because they had denied the LaFun the opportunity when they had come in to ask for that, what
The
is it, easement?
variance. Yeah,
Variance, thank you.
they had asked for a variance.
So they're inviting us along with the URA to come in and just what sort of share our perspectives. So should we try to like come in like more thoughtfully prepared so that they'll sort of understand why like we
Yeah, I
think
think
it's important? I mean, you feel like there's some openness to this um, because they've
yeah,
invited us.
yeah, I think there is. I think that's why that's why there's the invitation, and this is something that was requested by the Planning Commission to start this exercise to review these specific areas of the code. Um, so, yeah, I think they will be receptive to hearing, and they want to know what the HAB and members of the HABs, not just the HAB collectively, but what members of the HAB think and feel about those particular code provisions, as well as the URA. I know the URA is talking about having available their recommendations for densities when we did the big code rewrite a handful of years ago.
Okay.
And I know there was a recommend. This happened before I was here, but my understanding is there was a recommendation for a higher density level than what was ultimately approved. And so I know that's going to be an exhibit. That's going to be a discussion item.
Okay. Is there any discussion, thoughts on this from other folks? Am I, I don't see any hands or any. I mean, I think I would say that, I mean, we would support, we're in support of um, allowing for people to have that, to have the variance, especially if it's related to affordable housing, right? That increase, like we always talk about, how the city has, um, you know, um, entered into the, Prop 123 and agreed to increase affordability. And we know with the LaFun property, they've have a tough time um, justifying, um, or like, broader funders have had a hard time justifying it because of the number of units didn't meet like sort of their threshold. So then it puts projects in a bind because um, they're not able to get funded. So if the LaFun is having, and they're like, gosh, bless them, Peregrine for continuing to like try to push this. I think they're trying again.
Mhm.
So yeah, Glenn.
Yeah, I wonder, was the LaFawn property proposal, was it going to go up any? It's like as high as the, you know, the hotels that are along there, or were they going to be just one single story? I didn't remember
I mean, I don't know if anyone has more
Yeah.
brain
The
memory.
the original application, the LaFun application, it was a variance application. They were requesting a variance from the original density restrictions. I think the density is like 20 dwelling units per acre in the commercial zoning district. And they were requesting a variance to go more than that, to propose a development that's more dense than that. Um, the problem with a variance is when you request a variance, you have to demonstrate a hardship. There has to be a practical hardship or an undue hardship or a practical difficulty that keeps you that keeps you from being able to comply with the code. And so the planning commission, it was a split vote, but the planning commission voted to deny that variance because they did not identify an undue hardship. And so the logic is, okay, so if there's no variance that's required, let's go back and look at the code. And maybe the code is wrong. Maybe the code needs to allow more density than what it currently does. And so that's why we're doing this work session, is to actually look at the code and ask, okay, maybe more density should be allowed in the commercial zoning district. So LaFund doesn't have to apply for another variance. They can just apply for the appropriate permitting to build their project. We did Staff did a little cursory review, did a little bit of research on what other communities density standards are in other communities around the state, similar to Manitou, similar in size. And it's all over the map. And what we notice is that density is usually um, a local decision that's made for very local reasons. There are some communities that have no density restrictions, that if you can put in as many units as you can pack in. There are some communities that are that have only that allow only 20 dwelling units per acre or less than that. And so it's just all over the map. So this really is a local decision um, that's specific to each local community.
Got it. Amy?
I was wondering if anyone would be willing to reach out to members of the URA just to see what their recommended changes to the code are, and that prior to the meeting, and then we could write up, or I could write up the just like a one sheet of kind of like our overall, our being the HAB overall viewpoint on high restrictions and density, and then changes to the code and or variance process. I'd be willing to write that in lieu of attending only one meeting next month. And I will say it's because my birthday month.
Oh, yay. Yeah, I'd take you up on your time if we can connect. If does anyone have any time between, what, tomorrow and Amy, you probably would need. So if that meeting's on the 11th of February, when would you want content to write your one sheet?
I mean, that's if everyone feels like I feel like we have a cohesive consensus here that within reason not disrupt the economic or current environment of the URA, but within reason to change density or residential height restrictions if it's in accordance to meeting the needs of affordable housing.
Yep.
And we would agree with the URA on the following bullet points or disagree. And then, so as long as everyone's in consensus that could write that, and Allison and or Leah could approve that prior to the February 11th meeting, I'm fine with a few days.
All right. What do other HAB members think? Would you agree that I would agree, but does everyone else agree that we would be similar in our thinking, right? That we're all, yes, okay.
Yeah, I'm good
And
with.
yes, okay. And I mean, I can likely make some time. I mean, I did meet with the original URA folks. I'm sure there's been some changes. I know like Electra Johnson, is that her name?
Mhm.
Is now active and has been reaching out and trying to invite us to do things. So I could try to reach out to her and get some information and
Or
then
Nancy, right?
yep, or Nancy. We got Nancy now. So yep.
Easy peasy.
Yep. So I can put that on there and then
Do we have to make a
I
motion for that,
I know I'm trying to look. I'm reading
Zach?
my little
Or
notes. It says, is it within the board scope? Yes. Is this going to impact policy? I don't really know. Do we need to? Do we need to make a motion for this?
Um,
I
I
I
think
don't think.
so. Yeah, I think
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
it's already proposed, the meeting, and it's not something that is it's not altering the course of anything. It's just adding relevancy to something that's already been established, which is that meeting between the URA and the CPC.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we can just, yeah, per the discussion of planning for this meeting on the 11th, I'll reach out to someone on the URA just to get a gauge on what they're thinking. And then if you all agree, I can just, let Amy know. And then Amy can put together a document that I could share, I don't know, with Zach to then
Mhm.
we all blind copies
Yep.
everyone.
And
Um,
then, and we can also put whatever you want on the agenda um, for that meeting as well. That way,
okay,
the CPC has it beforehand.
perfect.
And
Because
anyone
you'll
who,
need that. When would be the day then for you that you would need that? Like, would
um,
you
it
need
would
it
it
on
would
the
be
5th
the Friday before.
or
So that one was
6th?
at the 11th. Yeah, so the 6th. So we would have where we would like to have the agenda posted by at least 5:30 on the 6th. Uh,
Okay,
so anytime before then, we should be able to squeeze it in.
okay. So then, yeah. So yeah, no, that will give me enough time. Motivate me to get moving on that. Okay. All right. Wonderful. So we've completed that number one of new business. All right. And planning department ADU updates, you already did
Yeah.
that?
Yep, kind of touched
So
on
we can
that.
check that off. Now we are on the election of officers. So,
Yes. And I did want to bring up, I know you mentioned in the email that you guys are kind of more on a 2-year system, which is fine if that's what you guys want to do. That's how the HPC does it as well. They also align with the 2-year system. It just is, that's your choice. So if you are going to do that, then
so I was just going to say because I was out a bit of last year and like typically I think we would have been talking more again like in October about like okay, I'm ready to step down, who's going to step up. But because last year was different, I had communicated with Zach and Aaliyah has also agreed. We just need to confirm with Rebecca. I mean, I'm comfortable to stay in the role of chair if you all will accept that opportunity. It'll be good. It will help me get, more fluent with this meeting verbiage. And then, as I said, then we can have then the conversations more planful, like in October, for who might want to be taking on that position of chair. Who knows? We'll just play around with it. So Aaliyah isn't here, but again, per our conversation, she said that she's comfortable to stay vice chair. I'll remain as chair. And then I wanted to ask Rebecca if she's willing to remain as secretary role.
Yes, I am.
Okay. So in this case, I will need some motions for those positions.
A motion that we are thankful and honored to have the three of you continue in your leadership positions. We really appreciate you.
And I'll second that.
All right. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Anyone, any noes, any nays? Hearing none, a motion passed. I will remain as chair, Aaliyah as vice chair, and Rebecca, thankful to you as well, to maintain your role as secretary. So checking that off. All right, so we've got these SOPs. Did everyone have a chance to look at them? I don't know if Zach, if you want to pull them up or they're
Yeah, I can bring it up
they're
and
this.
kind of leads into what we
Yes.
just discussed. I've highlighted two portions that the board would need to look at kind of immediately. I do want to note that the city clerk would like the SOPs to be kind of approved once a year, but that it doesn't just have to be done once a year. They can be updated any time throughout the course of the year,
Okay.
however the board sees fit, honestly. But yes, bear with me. I'll get it up here.
And it was like you said, specifically the things that you had highlighted that we really need to
Yeah,
firm up.
if we could get those at least determined today and maybe have this SOP approved pending those changes, I can have that submitted to the city clerk. I can make those changes, submitted to the city clerk. And then any point from here till the end of the year, if anything needs to change again, the board can bring it up. We can add it as an agenda item if you wanted something added or removed. It would be completely up to you guys. And as we had just kind of discussed, if the board wants to move to a 2-year schedule, that's completely okay. We would just need to make sure that you guys all agree on that. And the second part is how the alternates are chosen, whether you would like it to be done by seniority or if you would like it to be done by alphabetically by last name. Just small decisions.
Okay, so the first thing was you were saying that should we just keep it as year since that's what we've been doing, or?
It's completely up to you. It's the board's decision. So the board can keep it as a yearly. They can do it as a every 2 years. The HPC had pretty much moved to a 2-year system as well, where they stay in their positions for 2 years. Their argument being that a year is not long enough to really
Yeah.
kind of fill that role. And
Oh,
two
got
years
it.
they thought was a good limit to allow someone to really kind of immerse themselves in and get acquainted to what that role needs. But that's completely up to you. It's not me trying to sway the decision.
No, okay, that makes sense. Sorry, I was misunderstanding. I was thinking it was just the motion to like approve each calendar year. It's
Oh, no, no. So we
it's
would
the
just need the board to decide if they want to appoint chairs, vice chairs, and secretaries on a yearly or yearly every 2 years. I can
I
make that
see.
change.
Okay,
Um, and then the other being for alternates, if they want alternates to be chosen by seniority or alphabetically.
got it. Okay. So I'll just add one thing and then I'll allow Crystal here to speak. I would think that, yeah, because we have been like last year, we all sort of stayed in that role. And then this year we said we would. It seems to me that we would be on the 2 year. Um, Crystal, what's your thoughts?
So I guess my question was going to be if we say that it is on a 2-year schedule, have the three of you just signed up for 2 years, or would we be able to count this as your second year? Not that I am trying not to have you move forward, but also not being respectful of not having you overcommit, if that makes sense.
Yes, and I think would that be appropriate to say that we were our SOP should have been that we were going to say that we would have people in 2-year role.
Um, yeah, I guess you could just you could elect to say that you are basing it on the SOP as it's written now. And then maybe we can just we can update the SOP later in the year to read 2 years instead. And
Okay.
that would be the new update. So maybe we just approve the SOP as it is now on a yearly system. If the board wants to move to a 2 year system, then we would just bring those updates as a new business item and make the changes.
Okay. Rebecca, does that sound appropriate? I mean, I wouldn't again just to be not to lock ourselves in, as Crystal said, and I appreciate that. So, um, I guess we need a motion, or I don't know if I can say one to approve the SOP as stated on a yearly basis. I guess, is that
Yeah.
appropriate? Okay. Can I get a second? Or am I
I
allowed to make the
second.
motion? Okay.
I second.
Amy, second. Okay. All in favor? Say yes.
Aye.
I.
Um, anybody not agree? Sorry, my brain's like left me today. None. All right, hearing none. Thank you. Then that's approved. We're
And
gonna leave
then
it
you would
as
just let me know at any time in the future if you think that anything needs to be added or removed or altered, and we can put
okay.
it on your agenda and we can resubmit it after an updated SOP to the city clerk.
Okay. And then, yeah, I guess did we need to do the one about
Yes,
the
yes.
alternates?
How the board would like their alternates to be chosen.
So that just means like I guess are for those like if we had a bunch of alternates on the call and we're like, okay, we
Yeah,
need one of them to move up to elevate
if
to
we yeah, if we needed enough for a vote, then an alternate can move into a position. This probably doesn't impact the HAB as much as it does some of the other boards.
okay. Crystal, did you have another question?
Um, is this, sorry, I was thinking of discussion time for that.
Yes. Go ahead.
Like,
Yes.
I
Mhm.
think it makes sense to use seniority, and I'm understanding seniority as how long they've been an alternate.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Okay.
that way it's a little more, I guess it just feels reasonable and equitable for people who've been on here longer to be able
Yeah.
to get a chance to vote in.
Makes sense. Any other discussion around that or um, motions?
Yeah, I'll move that we adopted, the alternate shall be chosen by seniority.
Second, anyone?
I'll second it.
All right. Well, motion approved for alternate to be selected by seniority. All, or I guess I have to say all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
I.
Any noes? Hearing none. Now the motion's approved.
Do we have a full board right now? Or do we have any alternates?
We don't, but I need to check with Michael. I don't know. We might have some. I have one person that's reached out with interest to join our board, so we will eventually have an alternate because Nate was our alternate and he chose to leave us. No, as an alternate, and we have him as our liaison, which is Beautiful. Or I should
On
say the
that note,
people
I was
spoke.
gonna ask
I'm
if
kidding.
we had heard back anything about me switching to an alternate.
Beautiful. And that's, I didn't want to call out, so I'm glad, Michael, that's what I was going to say. So Michael has asked if he could switch to an alternate. So I just need to, Michael, I think I just need to write a letter to the city clerk, which I failed to do.
I responded to her email several months back. I can follow up on that and
Okay,
see
I think
if
though
there's anything else we need.
the ball is in my court, Michael. I think you did your part.
Oh, okay, okay.
And it was actually this evening when I was searching sort of HAB, I was like, oh my goodness, I've never got back to her. So Michael is going to move to an alternate position. Um, Michael, you're welcome to share sort of your reasons, and then I will extend the opportunity for this person who's applied to ask if they'd want to try to apply as a member or if they're in a situation that maybe they just want to be an alternate. So, Michael, did you want to share anything?
Sure. I will say this guy right here is my biggest reason. We're just a little busy, and I know that sometimes it's tough to make quorum, so I want to make sure that I'm not getting in the way of any business, but I do want to stay involved.
Beautiful. Well, welcome, little one. All right. That's
Thank
so sweet. Okay, so that kind of like, I know we bopped around a little different, but to answer Glenn's question, so we might be down a member, but like he said, that then makes our quorum different, right? But our numbers, because then we wouldn't have a member, right? If like Michael couldn't make it, we don't count, right? The quorum changes until we're full.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else on this SOP? Were those the main things?
Yep, and then we need to, I guess, vote to approve the everything else as well. And then I can make those changes and then I'll submit it to the board. If there was nothing else that needed to be added or taken away,
Yeah.
maybe the board will vote to approve the SOP with those changes that you guys have already outlined.
Okay. I guess the only one I just want to confirm with Rebecca, there was something about the secretary related to the alternate, wasn't there? About,
Let's see.
I guess, just, yeah, that I guess they just track the alternate rotation, or I think those are just, but that if we're not doing, if it's by seniority, is it just each meeting? It just depends, or
Well, they're
who
not
shows up?
deciding who, they're just tracking.
Oh, got it. Okay.
They're not
Yeah, they're
they're
not
not
making the
necessarily,
decision.
yeah, they're
Okay.
not deciding when an alternate becomes like a
Okay.
voting member.
All right. I think everything to me seemed okay. And you mentioned if there were changes, we would just update that as
Yeah, yeah, and you can update it as much as you want throughout the year. Um, the city clerk just wants to have an approved SOP on file, and I don't think the HAB SOP. I think it's been a few years since there's been updated. Maybe 2021, I think, was the last one I was able to find.
okay. Glenn,
So I was just going to move to that the HAB adopts the SOP as we amended tonight.
can I second? I'll second. Am I allowed? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, I second that. All in favor? Yes. Any noes? All right. Motion approved. We will take it as it's written and the other items that we noted for the SOP. All right, and then the last thing is just your Zach, the staff liaison agenda structure review and approval.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of throw some ideas to the board. I know originally reports were kind of a little further down. and I wanted to speak on having it moved up, and I did that for this meeting, kind of as a trial. But I also want to speak on maybe adding a separate item to kind of help the board move forward month to month and kind of deciding agenda items. And so the reason for prioritizing reports at the beginning of the meeting, and this ensures that when we dive into discussions, whether that's new business or old business, that um, we're fully briefed on city council actions or CPC actions. Um, and it ensures that the work that the HAB does is kind of perfectly timed with city priorities and always kind of remain relevant with what's going on. I know that this is important, especially with things like ADUs, that we kind of stay at the forefront of a lot of those discussions and allowing the board to make recommendations that might alter the course of some of these decisions. But the second one, and probably the most important, is I'd like to introduce a new standing section that would be added on the agenda, I guess, starting next month and moving on. Something maybe called agenda setting. This would the board frequently comes up with pretty good ideas. We last year we had a lot of great meetings. We had a lot of great presentations. We had a lot of great speakers, and but currently it seems like a lot of those discussions they happen informally or in passing, and sometimes this is tied to new business items. This section would give those ideas a dedicated home on the agenda, a place for the board to discuss those particular things that might be carried over into another month, something that would become a new agenda item for the board to discuss. So I think besides having that space to come up with agenda items, I think that I do want to highlight that this isn't about changing what the board does, but more about how we record it. By placing this on a formal agenda, I think it captures the board's initiative in public record. It proves that the board is actively looking ahead. Um, and it gives us a moment to kind of confirm that a new topic aligns with Plan Manitou and other requirements that are outlined in Chapter 2.5. Or Section 2.5. That's the section that governs the Housing Authority Board or Advisory Board. But it also ensures that when the board commits to a topic that the whole board agrees. And the whole board is, I guess, on board with that decision. And that's it. Sorry.
Okay. I like it. I think it's helpful. I think we've sort of talked about this in the past, but it's never been formalized
Yeah.
to have a discussion at the end of each meeting as we are now to come up with next month's agenda.
Yep.
Has anyone have any discussion or questions or thoughts around adding that to our agenda? And when we when we want to start it, we're all like tired. No, I'm kidding. I'm tired, I should say. I don't know what you are.
Oh, I'm tired too. I move that we adopt that. I think it's very board forward. And I appreciate your work on that, Zach. And I also wanted to say thank you for the I did notice when we were confirming attendance, there was some little new fancy button that I liked. So appreciate that. But
Oh, yes. That's Chelsea's. Chelsea came up with that and put it all together for all the boards, and it's been absolutely amazing.
yeah, it made it really easy. So thank her for me. But yeah, I move that we go ahead and adopt that. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
Second that motion.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Yep. Any no's? Hearing none, it's approved. We love it. Thanks for keeping us organized. It's just like I'm like makes like I mean, I think that was the other thing. Like before, like the chair, I felt like, oh my God, it was always like having to try to keep up and do stuff. And Zach, you've been a gift, some of, prompting me that it's time to put the agenda together, and these are things that are on the agenda, and that's really helpful. And I hope it's not encroaching on your work that you
No,
do for
not at
the
all.
city. So I do want to extend appreciation and thanks for that. And yeah, I guess. Is there anything that anyone wants to add for next month's meeting, or we'll just carry over? We'll probably be talking about maybe our meeting with planning, but yes, Rebecca.
I don't want to add anything to next month's agenda, but I did want to talk about the budget or what, I don't know, the regional housing needs assessment meeting to see.
Thank
I don't
you.
remember what was written in. It's $50. So I didn't know if anybody would want to attend. I would like to attend.
Yeah, I wasn't here when you all were doing the budget, and I don't even know what council even approved on our budget. So
Yeah, Fred would definitely be able to weigh in.
Short answer is yes, you have money. Um, there, I can't remember how much, but you have that cost is $50. So what I can do, I can go back to the budget and verify how much the HAB has. But if I recall, the city council granted the HAB's request or very closely to HAB's request to have a certain budget. So let me find out, but I know if that cost for that meeting is $50, that can be covered for those who wish to attend.
I think it was $1,000, Fred.
Okay.
But you can really do that.
oh, that was
You,
approved in it. Okay.
I believe Nancy it was very good. Because it wasn't actually in the original budget.
Yeah.
So she was, um, it was great that she caught that and then advocated for it. So it did get approved. One thing that you may want to think about, because I know there was some initial thinking and work that was going into it, was um, starting to put together some thinking around the education and awareness around ADUs. And I know
Mhm.
a survey was contemplated. I don't know. So that may be something you'd want to talk about. So I thought I'd raise that.
Yeah. And we probably do want to think about, um, how we want to best utilize that money and what like training. And I haven't had a chance to completely look at the agenda for that Pikes Peak Housing Network event, Nate, that you said you've already signed up for and another council member, and if um, it would be important for someone from the HAB to be, or if you can go and report back. I mean, I'm not saying no, Rebecca. I'm just throwing this out as a discussion for um, the HAB and for like kind of setting future like um, we have spoke like our own like education for educating the community and how does that all make sense? Do you, Rebecca, what did you see on that agenda or whatever that you felt like it was important for someone on the HAB to go to?
I don't know. Have they published an agenda? Because I've just gotten like email invitations. I didn't see an agenda yet, but that would be fine with me. But I do think, regardless of whether we decide if I go or not, maybe we could add to the next agenda, like this educational or training budget, how we'd like to go forward with it for the year.
Okay, that seems like a good and appropriate plan, especially as the start of the year, re-looking. So how about because I was out, that could be something that we put on the agenda for February is to relook at our goals and our budget and more thoughtfully, um, kind of relook at like, remember how we had done that where everybody had sort of, Michael had and Aaliyah had sort of put something together. Maybe that would be something good, to align with this new agenda flow and to be staying within our scope and then to better have a, future agenda item. Does that sound good to everyone?
I think that's really smart. Um, and because you brought that up, also made me think about like where are we as on the prop 1, 2, 3, um, and just kind of like seeing if maybe we can do an assessment of is there anything else we could do to help support the city or what they need.
Yeah, I think that's great. So Zach, did you catch that or
Yeah, yeah, and I think I would have to review a little more of the recommendations outlined in 2.50, and then maybe I'll throw that on the agenda just as an overview.
Okay.
It's a pretty short list, or a short section, I should say. The list isn't that short, but the section is very short. So I could do it as a one-page attachment, a new agenda item for the board to discuss if they'd like.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay. And then yeah, we can play on that. I know I think that thing, isn't it, coming up on the 16th, which would be after our or before our meeting, I'm sure, but um we can
Sure.
look into it. Maybe on a meeting, like an email or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I could
Okay.
do that.
All right. Was there anything else that I missed?
No, I think that was it.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for your time and conversation, and we will call the meeting to an end at 6:44 p.m.
Hey, congratulations, Michael.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know. It was so sweet to see the baby.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Have a good
Uh,
night.
Thank you guys.
all right. Bye. Amy, I'll be in touch with you.
Okay, ciao.
Bye.
Have a good
Bye,
night.
everyone.